Attend the tale of Maxwell Roth. He sought the footlights like a moth, his sense of timing never off until he opted to collaborate with a hooded reprobate. The blighter and assassin made a deadly double bill. Jokes, 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 make 'em laugh until they choke. Fairly slay 'em in the aisles, maidens fair and princes charming. Thrills, 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 dashing feats and bloody spills, and I guarantee you'll never see the ending coming. The curtain rose, the scene was set, they danced a murderous duet, and much deserving blood was let up to the scene wherein they disagreed on who should live and who should bleed, and Maxwell Rothy then received a very bad review. Jokes, 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 and there's daggers and there's cloaks, but behind the scenes the leading players differ on the plot. Laugh, laugh, laugh at the dandy's new red scarf. Now 8 shows a week to Beelzebub is his eternal lot. Jokes, 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 make 'em laugh until they choke. Fairly slay 'em in the aisles, maidens fair and princes charming. Thrills, 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 dashing feats and bloody spills, and I guarantee you'll never see the ending coming. Take a look around lively old London, buzzing crowds, we sweat and we revel, red-cheeked shouts and songs in the flicker of the gaslight. Eager blighty bursts from the cobblestones, racing, climbing, blooming fertility, born from secret seeds that are scattered in the night time. London is fed upon the meat of the dead. They're one shallow inch below the town. Underground, underground, leave them underground. Them that whispered dreams that only poisoned us, them that told us lies of their bravery, them that preached of progress and put us in the poorhouse, them done horrid murder on bloody stages, them that loudly crowed their humility, lords and dames that sung in the chapels on a Sunday. All quiet now, their mouths are stopped up by mud. They lie flung in rags and make no sound. Underground, underground, leave them underground.
I just freaking love this music. I am addicted. I think that's the real issue. I think I'm addicted. But I'm okay with that because it's awesome. And you guys seem to agree with me. It's awesome. But hello to everyone who turned out. Thank you. We're going to do a slow fade out on the music. Rather quickly. because I'm bad at slow fade outs. I sat down, we started streaming. I started the pre-show and I played Jokes. All of this is from the soundtrack of Assassin's Creed Syndicate, in case you were wondering or didn't see the chat. And Jokes is like a minute and a half long. It's a really short song. So I was expecting to just jump right into it. I hit start streaming, and then I remembered I had to call my mechanic to tell him to go ahead and start on the $1,000 repairs I need on my car, which is just great. Now, I live in Colorado in the United States, so we are already a mile up above sea level. And also we have cold winters, and this winter is going to be especially cold because we've had such insane weather this entire spring and summer. It's going to be an intense winter. And what that means is that your car has to be in tip-top condition before that happens, because you're talking about being in a place where the air pressure, the atmospheric pressure, the temperature, everything is at the worst possible point for a vehicle. And the problem with my car is the entire fuel line assembly. It's all rubbish. So he's like, I can knock all the price off. I can do it much faster. It'll be like a grand-ish. But we should take care of it before it starts getting cold. So I said, okay, let's just knock it out. But it's the worst possible time. Got to pay tuition, got to pay books, got to pay first and last month's rent for the new place I'll be moving into. It's just a tough time financially right now, but why worry about that when you have video games after all? And we have a lot of video games, lots of good stuff. For those of you wondering, I want to see in the chat if you start putting in what games you're playing this week. I'd love to hear, and then everyone on screen can also see. So go ahead and put in what games you're playing this week. But this week I've primarily been playing Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice and Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and those are for the next two videos we'll be doing. And I'm very impressed by Hellblade. Now, Hellblade is a game, I'm going to do a critique on this early this coming week, so you'll get to hear all of my thoughts, possibly to a painful extent. I will talk about it at length there, and I won't spoil much of it here. But I am very impressed with that game. I think a lot of the people that reviewed it rushed through it, didn't take their time with it, or they just simply don't understand what it's trying to be. I think it's fair to criticize certain gameplay elements, but I think primarily this isn't trying to be a super fun game. It's trying to do something much, much more than just be something that you sit down on a couch and play. And the people that I've spoken to who have really connected with Hellblade as well, they've had the same thoughts, the same feelings, where it just whacked them over the head in astonishment. It really was incredible. And I'm very, very impressed by Ninja Theory and what they managed to accomplish. And I think they highlighted a really interesting thing in the gaming industry. We don't have any real AA developers or basically medium-sized games. Hellblade's $30 and you get about 7 to 8 hours of gameplay. I've already played it like 3 times. I have a problem. I just really like that game. I was very impressed. Very, very impressed. And I'll shut up about it now because I don't want to spoil everything that I'm going to say in the critique. But very impressed. Very impressed. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat as to what you're playing. Hellblade, Sky's X-File, Hellblade, good. Yeah, we talked about that on the Discord. Also, join the Discord, and we can talk about the games we're playing when we're not live streaming. So yeah, I talked to Sky's X-File about Hellblade. Very impressed. Christian Cook is playing Wolfenstein, Freedom USA, Witcher 3 for the 10th time. Yeah, I think we've all been cursed with that. Leica is playing Oblivion, Beta Wolf's Paragon, Overwatch, and Paragon. Liam Shaw pre-ordered the new Dishonored. Galfoud has been playing Fallout New Vegas as well as Far Cry 3, going with the oldies. I like it. Samuel's been playing Overwatch. Fariel's still playing Skyrim with mods. Some Neo is in the works. Metalia is playing Diablo 3. A random person might replay Bully for the 5th time. Yeah, no, lots of good games. Lots of good games. I'm really excited for all this. So, let's see what's going on in the world of video games. We got some interesting stuff. So, to transition, first with a noir shot and with funny drawings on the wall. I don't know if you can read those, but they are there. And my shirt, which is History Buff. So hopefully you can appreciate that. I also have my plans scribbled up here, all there. This is really weird for me to do. All here, so if you take the time and pause, then you can use some detective skills and figure out what my plans are. But obviously, as you could tell through the title of this live stream, we have one thing in particular that we're going to talk about at length, and that is Middle-earth: Shadow of War. This is something that we had to deal with a lot this week. Lots of people offering their thoughts on it. And I want to go through it and talk about it a little bit. And that is specifically Middle-earth: Shadow of War is... they have officially unveiled their new microtransaction system. And I'm always a little baffled when companies like Ubisoft or Warner Brothers or EA, they come out and they show this off as if we've been begging for it. And then they're surprised when everyone gets upset at them over it. And I understand the need for extra revenue. The $60 price tag has remained the same for many, many, many years at this point, at least in the US. And that price hasn't really raised as the cost of these AAA games has skyrocketed at the same time. So I understand the need for generating extra revenue, but you got to ask yourself, is this really the way to do it? I honestly would just prefer, because the way you have to understand this works is they're essentially waiting for whales, as they call them. A whale is somebody who plays a game, for instance, Middle-earth: Shadow of War, and it has microtransactions available. You can even think Candy Crush. And the majority of people are not going to buy anything that's optional. So in Candy Crush, the majority, overwhelming majority, maybe even as much as 95% of people are not going to pay anything. They're going to play the free levels and then move on with their day. But there's a small number of people that will pay. And they will pay a lot. These are all the same people that struggle with addictions of any type. They get addicted to a game and they have trouble with impulse control and all of that. My brother's a perfect example. Impulse control, not his thing whatsoever. And so they have to be very careful. And this is what a lot of people get upset with, because they say that you're taking advantage of people with difficulties and impulse control issues. You're taking advantage of people with an issue. But you can, to be fair, say that about practically anything. You can say it about people who manufacture alcohol or cigarettes or cigars. You're taking advantage of people with potentially an issue or an addiction problem. I don't think that inherently makes you an evil corporation, but it's something that I think is fair to point out. Now, the reason why they're waiting on the whales is because the whales tend to spend a lot of money. The majority of people won't spend anything, but then those whales will spend hundreds of dollars online doing something, buying skins, whatever. I would prefer, instead of having a few people pay everything and the entire experience for everybody being decreased, I would honestly not mind if they just said, okay, we're going to give you a complete game. We haven't cut out any quests. There's no XP boosts. You can't buy a second form of currency to level up. No, all of that's gone. We're just going to charge $70 instead of $60 for the title. I'd be like, you know what? I can respect that. At least you're straightforward enough to realize and say, like, hey, we got expenses and we got to go and do this. At least then I could respect what they're doing, but they're pretending as though we want this and that we want these microtransactions, which is absolutely ridiculous. Now, as you can see, this is just some gameplay that they're showing off, pre-release footage. It doesn't look too bad. It looks interesting. I haven't been that crazy into this game leading up to release. I know a lot of people are excited for it. I personally, ever since they announced it, wasn't really that into it. It didn't look, I don't know. It just didn't really hook me. This looks kind of cool, but is this why I played the original Shadow of Mordor? I'm not sure. So I don't know. I think the combat system also gets really old really fast. But all that's beside the point. What they're doing is they're allowing you now, I'm not sure if this video even shows it, riding a dragon, as you do. Nemesis system. I'm not sure if this video actually shows it. But essentially, you're able to buy certain ogres, orcs, Rosie O'Donnells, I don't know what they're called. You're able to buy certain characters and certain people to fight on your army, and it feeds into the Nemesis system. You also can buy gold bars, which is a second form of currency in the game that you can spend on stuff, which is straight out of a freemium title where you have the gold in game and then you have like platinum bars that you can also get. It's just ridiculous. And there's two ways of thinking about it. You could say that this is pure greed and they're just trying to make money. They would only need to sell this for $30 to make ends meet, but instead they're charging 60 and microtransactions because they're greedy. That's potentially true. Or it could just be that this game was very expensive to make, and the licensing to have access to Middle-earth and to the world of Lord of the Rings is very expensive. So perhaps even Warner Brothers in their contract outlined a little line that says that they have the right to alter the pricing model and to throw stuff in. I guarantee you there's something like that in their contract. And so this could be nothing Monolith Studios wanted, but instead it's just something that Warner Brothers said, hey, we can make more money. Why not just throw that in there? We don't really care. It's hard to tell, and honestly, no one knows the truth except for the people heading up the development of this game, so I don't really know. Now, the obvious question then follows, is this a big enough deal that I'm not going to play the game, or that I'm going to boycott it, or that I'm going to do something like that? At the end of the day, yeah, like, it's easy to get frustrated with a pricing model, but at the end of the day, you got to ask about the quality of the product they're giving you to begin with. So, for instance, if I go out and I buy a new Mercedes-Benz, a brand new Mercedes-Benz, and it's a really nice car and I'm loving the crap out of it, but I can also have it upgraded with all sorts of new gizmos and doodads. I can add a sunroof. I can add doors that swivel up like Back to the Future. I can go and I can add, like, upgrade the engine, maybe new tires, sports tires. I can lower the suspension, whatever I would happen to want to do. If the initial price of the car was still accurate and the product I got without doing any of those upgrades was still so good, I could theoretically recommend that car to other people, even though there's ways to upgrade it or spend more money on it. But if it turns out that they did this thing where, like, oh yeah, well, you can't upgrade your tires, you probably should, because the tires that come stock on it are basically made of paper mache and you won't be able to drive it more than 10 miles before your car collapses. If that's what it is, then we have an issue. And that's typically what this signifies, is a lack of quality, and something's been removed for the sake of putting this pricing model in. Because after all, they're saying, oh, well, we need to justify that cost or the new products that they're offering. So an example specifically with Shadow of War would be that they've added in these ways to buy XP boosts, to buy gold, to buy certain creatures that you can have fight with you in your army. And so if they just left the game as it was and then also threw that in, there would be little to no reason to go out and buy those if you can just easily get that stuff through organic play. So I can guarantee you they've probably made it so that, well, yeah, you can get those legendary orcs or whatever, but you have to grind for 200 hours if you want that to happen. Well, okay, then we have an issue because you cut it out of the core game essentially because very, very few people are going to be playing it for 200 hours when somebody could pay $10 and get it in 5 minutes. So that's the thing. I don't know. I haven't played the game. I'm not going to pretend like I know what the game's going to be like when it comes out. But it certainly doesn't sell me at this moment. This isn't a good thing. And the amount that they've been talking about this game for months and months and months and months, they seemingly never shut up about it. Every week they seem to have a new gameplay video out. It's like the game already was released. And it's bizarre. It's fugazi, as you could say, and as I shall say. So that's my thoughts on Middle-earth Shadow of War. I think it's too early to completely judge it, but it certainly isn't a good thing, and it's something that should concern gamers who are looking forward to this, because I can guarantee you they've increased the grind in order to justify those microtransactions. Just as they did in Assassin's Creed Syndicate, a game I'm playing right now. You can buy cash and materials and all sorts of crap in that game too. And as a result, in order to justify that and to make it more tempting, they made it really hard to just organically acquire that stuff. It's really frustrating, and it's an unfortunate reality of our current industry. And I honestly would not be opposed to them just saying, honestly, these games are expensive, or we're not making enough money to justify making more of these. So we're going to charge you $65 instead of 70, or instead of 60, or we're going to charge you 70 instead of 60 so that we can make our money. And we'll also offer big DLCs like Blood and Wine and Hearts of Stone. Big stuff that's well worth your money. That's what they need. That's what they need. Big old smoothie today. Big old smoothie today. Okay. The other thing, let me switch back to some noir while I try to pull this up. So the other thing I also wanted, I tweeted this out. Let me pull up the tweet because it was really funny when I saw it. Look up here. Come on. Oh yeah, Super Meat Boy is coming to the Switch as well, if that is important to you. It's an easy game to come to the Switch. I'm surprised it didn't come out sooner, but I just saw it while swiping through my feed, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. This right her. Let me find which screen I need to switch to. Yes. Bethesda Game Studios. There are still settlements that need your help. Fallout 4 Game of the Year edition arrives September 26th. They're mocking themselves now. We've done such a good job, we don't even need to do it anymore. They're mocking themselves. That's really sad. It makes me sad inside. And not to mention that I guarantee you they're going to start doing the same thing they did with Skyrim, and they're going to try to release multiple versions of Fallout 4. We'll probably get a new version of Fallout 4 every year for the next decade. Easy. I think they realized, oh, people are kind of sick of Skyrim and us pushing it down their throats. So let's release a Fallout 4 Game of the Year edition. Okay, you idiots. Okay. I'm not directly opposed to it. I won't be buying it, obviously, but it's a little frustrating. And I guarantee you that, like, again, we have to go back to the idea of greed, or is this honestly necessary? And I don't want to pass judgment to the point where I'm saying what I know is going on in their income statements or anything. I don't know how they're doing financially. I have to imagine Bethesda has a huge amount of cash on hand. Their games sell very, very well, Skyrim especially, and they've released it multiple times over the last few years. And they have a small team working in a small office, and sure, they take 5-6 years to make a game. But still, with a team of like 120, 150, you have to imagine that they can still have a good chunk of change sitting around. So if that's the case, then this is pure greed. And it's just, well, we can make more money off of a re-release, so let's just do that. And you got to believe me, like at the end of the day, this is not necessarily just something coming from ZeniMax, although it very well might be coming out of ZeniMax, or it's something that, you know, people like Todd Howard and Pete Hines, they're just saying, well, listen, if we sell another 100,000 copies over the next 2 months, then we get a bonus. Let's throw that out. Let's re-release it with like some concept art included or some crap. It's just really frustrating. And at some point, I think it's going to catch up with Bethesda. I think E3 this year slapped them in the face, which I thought was really good. And it's really, really bizarre. It's really bizarre. And as Ostrich the Gamer says in chat, Bethesda seems to make a new game every generation. Well, yeah, but the problem is they release a new game every generation, except the game they release looks and plays like the previous generation. And that's the issue. When you start developing Fallout 4 in 2011/12, you're in some serious trouble because you're dealing with hardware. You're going to be releasing on hardware that you haven't seen yet and that hasn't been announced, and you haven't even gotten the dev kits for it yet, so you don't even know how you're going to get it to work. You just got kind of faithfully hoping. And I mean, Fallout 4 in particular, they said Fallout 4 they began designing right after Fallout 3. They began concepting and figuring out settings and characters and writing it. And if that's the case, video game development is so bizarre just because you're talking about you have to put it on a set of hardware, and that set of hardware, you don't even know what it's going to be like if you're developing for something that far ahead. Almost like, 8 years of development or 7 years of development for Fallout 4, and for the majority of that, they didn't know what the consoles were even going to look like or run like. They didn't know the hardware. And when you do that, you just have troubles. Bethesda Game Studios developing AAA titles, I think, is an inherent contradiction. It just doesn't make sense to me. Bethesda should be releasing games roughly the size of Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. They should be releasing like maybe really cool concept-y 20-hour experience. Like, they can do stuff like that pretty easily, but they've shown over the last few years that they don't understand the new form of gaming and the new generation. Like this whole worldwide frustration with the establishment, whether you're talking about politics or you're talking about the media, whatever, it's also happening in video games. People are sick of the established set of developers. People like EA, Ubisoft, they've been burnt so many times, they're just willing to give their money to a company like Ninja Theory and hope that they can just give them something worth it. So it's bizarre. It's bizarre. I don't know what to say. Bethesda is re-releasing it once again, starting a new trend, I'm sure, where they're going to be releasing stuff or re-releasing Fallout every year. This is what they do, and we'd best prepare for it, because that's what we do. We sit around and wait for Bethesda to do something stupid. Yes, guys, X-Files, or X-File, at least we have From Software. Yeah, if they ever do anything, like, where are they? They better be working on something great. I hope they haven't just been sitting on their mech franchise. I am not at all interested in that. They said, when is PSX? When is PSX? Okay, PlayStation Experience 2017. Was that already here? Did it already happen? I can't see. Does anyone know? I'm trying to find it. PlayStation Experience 2017 will take place this December 9th through 10th, 2017, and will once again be held in Anaheim, California. This is the article I'm looking at right now. This, okay, in this case, I would expect to see From Software's next title here. So December 9th or 10th. That's when I would expect it. And you can also guarantee we'll see more of The Last of Us Part 2 because The Lost Legacy will have launched by then. And that's another game that's coming out in like 2 or 3 weeks, The Lost Legacy. But it's not clear. They say it's an expansion, but it's not clear if it's like, it looks like they're releasing a full-on game. It comes with like its own disc. But I don't know if it's going to be like a AA title, if it's going to be like a 7-8 hour experience, or if they're going for another 12 to 15 hour experience. I'm not sure. Either way, I'm not really excited for it. I really don't like Nadine at all. I'm not a huge fan of Chloe. I think they should have killed her off. I've said that many, many times. I'm just not super pumped about it. But yeah, this is wonderful. Just a little gamer food right there. So yeah. No, they're gonna try this, and I bet you, like, if this with Nadine and Chloe goes well, they're gonna relaunch Uncharted with, you know, Nathan Drake's daughter as the star. They better not keep Nadine. Or else I'm going to be frustrated, because just Nathan Drake is Uncharted. I'm just frustrated. I'm frustrated. I want more Nathan Drake. I don't want Nadine. Ugh. Okay, this was the other thing I wanted to show you. This I just find cool as somebody who has tried to work on a lot of this stuff. Good. There are all sorts of cool tech demos from SIGGRAPH 2017 where they go and they show off a lot of their new tech demos as for graphics simulations. So this is something that's cool. Let me move the chat so you can see when they do a little. Okay, so this is 123 seconds per frame it took to render, but look how realistic this looks. Like, we're gonna have that, like, this is actually running. It's just insane. Like, look how good that looks. It's incredible. 26 seconds a frame for this one. Big old rug. And I believe they're saying it takes this long maybe to render it, just to render it, or perhaps they're saying that it takes 26 seconds to simulate it per frame, and then the rendering is separate. I don't really understand this one. I'm going to be perfectly honest. There's this one, which is meant to simulate clothing realistically. It actually reminds me a lot of LA Noire once they go into these, with these faces, you know. Essentially what they're trying to do is, the tech they used for LA Noire, they're trying to program algorithms that can read off the clothes specifically. So you can basically motion capture somebody in clothes and then remap those clothes onto different body types, and all the information remains, which is actually pretty damn cool. Show some stuff off. So this one's weird. And this is what the cameras pick up. That's what it looks like coming out of the camera. And then they tried mapping it onto new bodies and seeing how well it translates, which is really interesting. It's really interesting. I'm not sure if this is applicable in games specifically, or if this is something that they would use elsewhere, maybe in films or something like that. But it is pretty interesting, because cloth physics are always one of the things that video games really struggle with. And to see them making progress on this, it's pretty dang cool. The amount of math involved in this stuff is just unholy. This is why it just baffles me that they're just taking shots from cameras and then you turning it into this. It's pretty remarkable when you realize just they're dealing with zeros and ones, and then they can translate it into that. This one was kind of cool. Vimeo is weird. I can't figure it out. There's no full screen. Wet sand simulations. Seeing how it works. Look at that. That's kind of cool. 2D hourglass. Okay. Pretty cool. Proof of concept stuff to see how well they can simulate it. And this may seem kind of boring, but all of this feeds into everything. Like every game that you've been playing with any amount of physics, this is where it all starts. It starts with a proof of concept where they're showing that their algorithms work, and then they move on, and then they can apply it into a game engine. Somebody like Unreal will hire these guys on, and they'll implement this math into their engine, and then they'll try to basically make it more efficient, and then they take that and show it off to NVIDIA, and maybe NVIDIA goes and builds a particular capacitor in a graphics card to just focus on doing this algorithm really, really well, so you get really high quality physics and stuff. And that's just pretty fascinating. Like this one with water and sand mixed. That is so insane that they're able to just simulate this. The water building up from under the sand, tearing it down, and then flushing it out. It's pretty amazing. I mean, it's remarkable. I might be geeking out, but I do find it interesting. This one was actually, I think we looked at this on an episode a while back, maybe. But I found it pretty cool. So what it is they basically just capture people going. I don't think they have any mocap. Yeah, right here. So they motion captured somebody running around doing all sorts of weird animations, and then they trained this basically AI to read it and to intelligently be able to walk over terrain. So imagine if you're playing a game like Assassin's Creed, and this is how the animation system works. Instead of having specific animations for a particular moment or ground type, you're instead it's completely contextual, it's completely organic, it's generated in the moment intelligently. And that's where this AI is going, is basically they've taught it how to respond to weight and to gravity and to different heights, like right here, so that he knows, the computer can figure out if it should jump, if it should crouch, when it lands, should it crouch down to even out the weight. It's pretty interesting. So these guys, I believe, have pitched this. I might be pulling this out of my butt, but I remember seeing something about them pitching this to Ubisoft. So when I say this might end up in an Assassin's Creed game, I'm not joking. Like, this actually might. It's pretty remarkable, and this is something you probably won't see for another few years, but it is a proof of concept. It does work, and especially, like, you see how they have ceilings and vaulted ceilings, and he can even intelligently respond to that, which is pretty amazing. And this could completely change the way that these open world, or really any game in the third person perspective, responds and treats its animations. Because you're not dealing with film and animation and then apply it to certain instances. You're talking about intelligent decision making based on certain terrain, essentially. Like here, he runs into a wall, intelligently knows to stop, steps up, can go up the stairs, evenly distributing his weight so that he's actually balanced, backing up, careful not to step off, going down. You see the weight there? Oh, don't run in. Boop, 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 boop. Jumping, climbing up, trying to keep his weight balanced. Look at that. Pretty remarkable. Pretty remarkable. Yeah, exactly. Only available on Xbox One. Xbox One, my butt. My bottom. And then this one is just different, like, gravity types and stuff. I don't understand what this is. Oh, creaking. I guess it's artificially generating sounds. Okay, I get it. So yeah, I just thought that was interesting, because that's at the core of this industry, and it's important to just understand and appreciate what goes on behind the scenes, because those are the real stars. Like, we tend to glorify people who play games or the couple people that directed a game, but really at the core of it, that's what makes it happen. It's a bunch of nerds sitting around a whiteboard doing math. That's what makes all of this possible. Okay. Next. Right here. No, that's the wrong one. Boop, boop. There we go. Another Battlegrounds streamer has been banned for taking advantage of a glitch. And essentially what this glitch was is it just prevents houses from being rendered. So apparently that's bannable. And it doesn't look too bad. Like, you see him running or driving around, and like, there's supposed to be all sorts of buildings here, but they're not. So he all of a sudden has a very unfair advantage. But I'm not sure. I'm not super familiar with this particular case, so I don't know if he exploited this. But he's just playing the game and there's a glitch. Is he being punished for that? I'm not really sure. But like, he's just running over people that are inside buildings. But because the buildings aren't generating in his side of the game, the game just assumes that somehow he's hitting them with a vehicle and therefore he's winning. So Battlegrounds apparently banned him for it. I don't know what to really make of it, but I thought I would point it out. It's a little bizarre. You can see the stuff floating up top. That's because it's on the second floor of the houses that are supposed to be generating right now. See, those people are inside houses, so they can't see him on their end, but he can drive through. So, yeah, that's what we're dealing with. A little bizarre, but he was banned. For that. Very sad situation. But yeah, even though Destiny apparently didn't do anything to trigger the glitch, he obviously took advantage of it, which is a hard no in the PUBG rules of conduct. Do not exploit bugs or glitches. If you find a bug or glitch in the game that provides an unfair advantage, let us know about it instead of using the exploit for your benefit. So I suppose what that means is Battlegrounds, the developers, PlayerUnknown, expect you, if you run into that, to just quit out of the game and contact support. Which I get what they're doing. Like, they just have a hard no. They're just no way. But the reality is he was just playing the game and then a glitch happened. Fix the glitch, he won't be able to exploit it. So I'm a little... like, if he were spawning it somehow consistently, I'd be like, okay, yeah, you should get banned. But he's just playing the game, a glitch happens, and then he benefits from it. Fix your game. 10 out of 10 IGN. And lastly, this was something that a lot of people were very excited about and had lots of interesting thoughts on, which I found hilarious. Naturally, this comes from NPR, if you can see that. This is National Public Radio. Something I hate with all my heart. It's a bit rubbish. It's just like 24/7 people going, I'm talking into your ear. This is very calming. This is why people listen to NPR. Let me talk about all of this in a very soothing way, even though it feels like I'm raping your ears. Just sit down, listen to it. And we're going to play some flute in just a moment. It's absolutely rubbish. I hate NPR. I can't stand it. Some people are like, oh, well, I zone out to it. It's great. Like, smoke some pot or something and do a little blow and listen to NPR. You'll have a great time. But no, it's terrible. I do not like NPR. Anyway, the article off of NPR is saying video games may affect the brain differently depending on what you play. Genius. Genius. Absolutely brilliant. Now, this is one of the most tamed down titles I could possibly imagine for what they end up trying to say. So, people who played action video games that involve first-person shooters such as Call of Duty or Medal of Honor, the fact that they're referring to Medal of Honor instead of like Call of Duty and Battlefield, I find a little bit hilarious. It's like they're coming right out of 2001, but whatever works for them, I suppose. They experienced a shrinkage in a brain region called the hippocampus, according to a study published Tuesday in Molecular Psychiatry. That part of the brain is associated with spatial navigation, stress regulation, and memory. Playing Super Mario games, in which the noble plumber strives to rescue a princess, had the opposite effect on the hippocampus, causing growth in it. Now, a lot of people, initially, when they read this, they said, oh my gosh, NPR is claiming that video games shrink your brain, and like it's another version of what was going on back in the 1990s, where they were just saying like, oh, video games are rotting your brain and they'll kill you and you got to stop. You're gonna basically cause another Columbine High School massacre if you listen to Marilyn Manson or if you happen to play video games. So this is what we're dealing with here. Now they go on, and initially I actually read this and I was like, okay, that doesn't really seem that rubbish. That doesn't seem that bad. Because honestly, let me zoom in so you can see it. Honestly, it doesn't seem that absurd. Like, I know, having played chess for years and years and years, it actually physically changed the way my brain works. So, and I can see it in everyone I've talked to, everyone I've interacted with who also played chess on a very high level and for a long time. It affects the way you think. So one of the ways that I raised money for my school to actually go to nationals is I invited news crews and stuff, and I sat down on a chair. Imagine that. And there was a big table behind me lining up. Maybe I can actually find a picture of this if I look for it. I'll have to, let's see if I can actually find this. So what I decided to do was to play 3 people at the same time while blindfolded. And it was this big spectacle, and everyone was like super amazed by it, because like, how is he playing 3 games at the same time while blindfolded? He's got the boards in his head. He can move the pieces without looking at the board. He's got it mapped out. It's so incredible. But to me, I had been doing that as a warm-up for years at that point. It wasn't impressive to me. It wasn't crazy interesting. It was just part of what I did. Right here is a picture. It's very let me just go like this. Nope. Oh, it's weirdly scaled. Okay, this is a picture of it, of little Luke playing 3 teachers from my school on the stage at the same time in chess. I forgot a blindfold, so I took I believe it was Jossam right here. I took his tie and tied it around my face and played 3 games at the same time while blindfolded. So this guy, Mr. White was his name. He had us call him, he was my Latin teacher. He made us call him Dominus Albus for teacher White, or kind of mentor White, which was very fun. This was Mr. Binder. He directed all of the theater productions. He was a literature teacher as well. And then this guy, Mr. He left like after that semester. I'd like to think I humiliated him, but I think it was Mr. Fredrickson or something like that. And I think he was temporarily a lit teacher before he went on to get a PhD in something. So we played these 3 games. Isaac was my hands. I called out a move and he would make the move on the board. And then Mr. White would see that move, Isaac would go through, and I'd make my moves on all the boards, and then he'd loop back to Mr. White's board and say, okay, Mr. White played bishop c4, and I'd be like, okay, then I'm going to play d3, or like whatever it was. So it was very, very interesting and very fun. I won 2 games and lost one. The reason why I lost one was because Isaac, sweet, beautiful Isaac, heard me say, he heard me say C4 when I actually said D4. So C and D means a different pawn. So he thought I said one, I said the other. So he played the wrong move. So all of a sudden, I had a picture in my head that wasn't the same as what was actually on the board. And things quickly kind of collapsed from there. It's just tough, which is why some people, when they do these exhibitions, they write it on a whiteboard and then hold it up, and that's their move. But yeah, no, it was really, really fun. But we did that, and that physically changed my brain. So now I can actually sit back and I can picture things in real detail. I don't think you could necessarily say it like made my brain work photographically or like photographic memory or something like that, but it gives me an ability to visualize things in my head in a much better way than otherwise. Video games, I would expect, do the exact same thing. If you play a lot of a shooter, I'm sure that your initial response time, your fast twitch muscles, your whatever reflexes, I suppose, in certain capacities would be increased and improved, and then other elements might be decreased as a result of atrophy, just naturally. I don't find this initially really ridiculous. That was a really weird way of arriving at that statement, but I didn't find it too much or too absurd. So I was like, okay, this doesn't seem that bad. But then they went on, and they continue to go on. And basically, by the end of the article, they're all out damning the use and playing of video games. Scientists have done dozens of studies looking to see if playing video games affects people's health and behavior. There's some evidence that may improve people's visual and short-term memory and hand-eye coordination, but researchers keep looking for negative consequences too. These researchers first asked 33 participants how often they had played video games in the past year. They scanned people's brains using MRIs and found that the action video game players who reported spending an average of 19 hours playing action video games each week had less gray matter in the hippocampus than non-video game players. The difference was statistically significant. So all of this looping back together, some gamers automatically get very offended by the notion that there's an issue with playing video games, or that playing video games could potentially have a negative impact on your brain. I don't find that ridiculous. I think chess had a positive impact and a negative impact. It made my brain stronger in some ways and made it weaker in others. I can play chess very well, but I struggle with something like chemistry. I hate chemistry. I can do really well with chess, but chemistry is not my forte. Whereas I knew somebody who was crazy good at chemistry and sucked at chess. So and sucked at the things that chess kind of encourages. So people's brains are different. They're going to respond differently to different stimuli, and that's to be expected. If your brain didn't respond to certain stimuli, it would be a bad thing. It would be concerning, because the brain is essentially a muscle. You have to use it or lose it, and depending on how you use it, you can have better or worse experience based on all that. So it's just important to remember that there's positive and negative benefits to everything. I think it's a bit ridiculous to just go out and say that video games are bad for your brain or are going to shrink your brain. But I also don't think it's ridiculous to say that video games do affect your brain. And to say that they might possibly have a negative impact too, I think makes sense. If I sit in the basement playing a fast-paced shooter, that's going to impact my mental faculties if I'm doing that 20 hours a week, as compared to if I were sitting down composing a symphony for 20 hours a week. Both would impact my brain positively in some ways and negatively in others. And I think that's just something to point out. Yeah, then shrooms have a greater effect. If you would happen to play equal parts FPS and Mario. I agree. I think you should. Liam Shaw says, if by action games they mean multiplayer first-person shooters, I can totally understand. Well, I think also there's a certain demographic that applies to every game. There's a certain type of people that plays a game like Doom, and there's a certain demographic that plays a game like Stardew Valley, and there's a certain demographic of people that play a game like chess, and there are certain types of people that play all sorts of games for all sorts of reasons. And I think there's positive and negatives to everything. Alexander Wayne, there's no doubt people who play video games and watch TV all day have less brain function. Well, it's possible, but you could even say it's just a different type. The difficulty, I was reading a study once, the difficulty with brain function when you're watching TV or YouTube or something like that is that people have a tendency to check out, and that's not good. So when you're watching something like whatever that reality TV show is, like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, when you're watching a show like that, you kind of are just checking out and just absorbing, and that's not good. But if you're watching a documentary on World War II and taking to heart everything that's being said, then your brain is actually actively working through. And so I've never really agreed with this stigma on TV and film and the internet and all that. I think you can be incredibly intelligent and watch a lot of TV, but it has to be the right TV. It has to be the right content that you're absorbing. As with anything, like people say, read more and you'll be smarter. Well, if I'm sitting around reading like, I don't know, murder mystery, fan fiction, porn or something, like 50 Shades of Grey and a butter knife, and that's what I'm sitting around reading, that probably isn't going to make me a much smarter person. But if I sat around and was reading Christopher Hitchens, yeah, I probably would get smarter. At least my vocabulary would increase. So, yeah, no, it's interesting. I think the difficulty now is everybody is so easily offended that it's affected literally everyone, but a lot of people don't realize it and they get offended, ironically, if you point it out. Even people online, even people who are gamers, even people who claim that they aren't snowflakes, quote unquote, tend to have the same attributes and qualities. If you say that perhaps the way they live is not great or the best thing, they get easily offended and call you all sorts of names, try to dedox you, whatever. I play a lot of video games, and I recognize that's probably not the healthiest thing for me, and I can accept that and move on and try to improve it or get outside more or read more books or have more debates or something like that. I think accepting shortcomings is important. But yeah. Let's see. Yeah, exactly, Deathstroke. Butter would add so much more fluid to 50 Shades, as if there wasn't enough already. For realness. Now I want that fan fiction. I'm not sure if you do. Yeah, there's a difference between educational programs and reality TV. Should have worded my statement better. Oh yeah, no, I'm just spitballing, so don't worry. I'm not trying to call anyone out or refute anything. I think we're all in agreement here. My audience, all of you guys, tend to be very, very intelligent. I'm always blown away at the conversations we can end up having. I'm very impressed, and I'm very blessed because I don't really have a crappy audience like I know a lot of people tend to get stuck with, where all of a sudden they're feeding a lot of trolls or something like that. It's just frustrating for a lot of guys I know that are on YouTube. They can never talk about it publicly, and I won't name drop anyone, but some YouTubers I've spoken to, they express actual frustration with their audience because they're like, listen guys, like listen dude, my audience is like super weird and young, and they don't understand a lot of stuff I talk about. And I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. That's terrible. Mine were great. You, me, 10 out of 10. What is an IQ, Liam Shaw? I don't know, but if my online IQ tests have anything to do with it, it's pretty good. No, it's it was in The Office, that my favorite TV show of all time. In The Office, they ask Michael Scott, they say, Michael Scott isn't very intelligent. And he said, oh yeah, well, dozens of online IQ tests might prove you wrong. I don't even know where you would go to get an IQ test. I don't know. I think you can like go contact Mensa and do it, or maybe you have to contact like a therapist, or like, I don't know who you contact. Yeah, Lenky Doza, the Angry Joe Show situation is a great example of the audience. I agree. I think that's a perfect example. Like, how terrible must it feel to go from thinking your audience supported you, and then overnight half of your audience is sending you hate mail and is disliking everything you upload. Like, it must be tough. I feel bad for the dude. It's just tough. It's tough. I don't know what demographics he's appealing to. I'm not I'm not really a fan of his content, and I think his content perhaps appeals to a younger demographic. You know, he dresses up in silly outfits and makes some goofy jokes that I'm sure I probably would have liked when I was younger, but right now they just don't, I don't really get it. But yeah, no, it's there. It's there. Okay. What did we call this segment last week? I can't remember. I cannot remember. What did we call this segment last week? I can't remember what we called it. I don't know. Whatever this segment's called, where we go around, you guys put stuff in the chat and try to get me to crack. Yes, Liam Shaw, thank you. Final flush. The final flush. I need to make a big like cutaway just for the final flush. But the final flush, that's what we're doing right now. Essentially, all you do is you throw something in the chat that you're going to try to crack me up with. I'm going to turn off the chat there, and I'm going to freeze my chat so that I can't see it. And I'm going to just talk for about a minute or two and let you fill in some stuff. And essentially, I just have to go, I believe we said like 90 seconds reading through them without cracking up. And if I get through it without cracking up, I win. And if I don't, then you guys win. And we'll work on prizes, but this is still a work in progress. So yeah, go ahead, throw your stuff in there for the final flush. I will take a drink of smoothie. Let me also say, before I forget, I was cast in a short film that is going to be shooting next Friday and Saturday, I believe. So what that means is that next week's episode of Talk Gaming is probably going to either happen on Thursday night, or it will be pre-recorded and uploaded on Friday, and we'll do something goofy, or we might do, depending on the news and the type of stuff that happens this coming week, we might do like a big Q&A segment. Either way, whatever we end up doing, make sure you follow me on Twitter and also join the Discord so that you can see those updates. And if we do a big Q&A, you can get your question in, or questions in, and I can answer them live on air as we go through it. So with that said, you guys have put your statements in, and now, I guess I should get this chat here. Jokes, jokes, jokes. Get them loud and get them fast. Da, 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 da. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Big money, big money, big money. This is the chat. Oh, I need to disable that so I don't read it. And I'll move my head right here. Okay. I can even make it bigger. Isn't that a power a lot of guys wish they had, to make it bigger? Well, I have it. Suck it. Here we go. Here we go. And timer starts Now, is it going? Yeah, okay. Okay. Did you know that Sony is actually an old Asian stereotype? I did not. Quick thoughts on Hellblade. Incredible game. I'm going to do a critique on it in the early days of this coming week. It's going to be great. I don't want to spoil my thoughts on it. Look up Grumpet. That was actually a cough. If your girlfriend is out for the weekend and the baby dies, it's very hard to find an identical one. Easier if you're black or Asian. No, not because they look the same, because they're easier to purchase. I'm gay. I like my women how I like my golf scores, in the 80s with a slight handicap. You guys are doing well. If Angelina Jolie and Madonna have taught us anything, it's that you can buy black and Asian people. Well, so, all right. Dry throat. What's the difference between a woman and a computer? You can punch information into a computer. Rasputia. Praise be, Rasputia. England doesn't have a kidney bank, but it does have a Liverpool. Ride to Hell is a much better written game than The Witcher 3. It's like the guy that told me earlier in the week that I shouldn't cover The Witcher 3 because they just plagiarized Skyrim. Yeah, like I plagiarized H-Bomber. Oh, no, it was kind of ridiculous. I thought he was joking. Turns out he was serious. Sky's X-File, I told my wife jokes while she was in labor with our baby. She said it was terrible and didn't laugh. I think it was the delivery. That's pretty good. I think I'm going to use that. My brother's about to have a baby in like a week. So yeah, no, I'm totally using that. I'm stealing it. Imagine being a window washer for the World Trade Center the day the Twin Towers came down. What a frustrating day that must have been. What did the boy with no hands get for Christmas? Gloves. Nah, just kidding. He still hasn't unwrapped his present. What's the difference between in-laws and outlaws? Some people like outlaws. That's a good point. I'm going to buy Fallout 4 Game of the Year. Okay, I think that was a crack. I just read it. I saw it was coming from Liam. Oh, damn you and your endeavors, Lukey. Thank you. They already are. Did you hear about the chameleon who couldn't change his color? He had a reptile dysfunction. A reptile dysfunction. That's great. I was attacked by a gang of mimes today. They did unspeakable things to me. New Zealand's government. Oh, he said it, not me. So I painted my laptop black, hoping it would run faster. Now it doesn't work. Wow, that was well crafted. Well crafted. Sky's X-File, I tried to walk into Target and missed. Fallout 4 is a prime example. Oh, something happened. Fallout 4 is a prime example of what the future of RPG should be. Boy, that's a funny joke, Liam. Have you ever viciously masturbated and heard your pee-pee squelch? I have. What would it squelching sound like? I don't even know. Anyone want to recommend me some beautifully crafted, photorealistic, narratively heavy cinematic games, such as my personal favorites, Candy Crush, Call of Duty, Roblox, Gmod, and TF2? Oh, wow. What's white on top and black on the bottom? U.S. culture. I was shaving my pubes the other day and knocked me nuts. Ouchie. Wow. Tiny Rick, blah, 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 blah. I found the worst page in the entire dictionary. What I saw was disgraceful, disgusting, dishonest, and disingenuous. What's the difference between a dead baby and an apple? I don't have an apple before I eat it. That's bad. What's the only drink size they allow in North Korea? The Supreme Leader. Oh, that's actually pretty good. What's the difference between a black guy and an elevator? One can raise a child. Oh, that's real bad. What's the difference between a park bench and a black man? A park bench can support a family of 4. Oh, that's real bad. That's real bad. If an illegal immigrant fights a pedophile, is it Aliens versus Predator? Technically, I think yes. Oh, wow. Luke Boo can't wait to play Blood and Wine and didn't finish all the side quests and contracts in base game. Can't wait, and I didn't. Yeah, well, you can jump right into it. It's really good. Your channel. Nice. It is a joke. Actually, the core of my channel is a bit of a joke. That's why my name is Lukey Poo. People have asked, like, why not change your name? It's like, because I'm talking about video games. I'm talking about video. Like, I don't take myself that seriously to be like, this is a super serious analysis I'm talking about a video game. Like, my name is Lukey Poo. I need to remember that I'm not that awesome. I'm just an idiot making videos. Well done, everybody. I accidentally went for almost 6 minutes, and that's where we got to. I think I cracked up multiple times. That was very well done. I'm impressed by all of you. You guys won this week. Well done. I don't know. We'll have to get something like, maybe we'll do it like I get a jar of like really weird exotic candies or peppers or something, and every week I win. I don't have to have one. Oops, sorry. I don't have to have one, but every week you guys win. I have to take one, something like that. I don't know. We'll talk about it in the Discord. Join up. Even if you're watching this recorded afterwards, we'd love to have you over there, and you can put in your jokes over there, even in the not safe for work section if they're really, really dirty. We'd love to hear them. We like jokes, and we are not super into censorship. So yeah. That's how we do. I was going to carefully and wonderfully manage. Is this working? Nope. Yes. No. Oh, nope. Something happened. Nike. I'm bad at this. I'm bad at my job, guys.
Take a look.
There we go. Little outro music for us. Let me enable the chat again. Thank you. What is wrong with this? Every time I click away, it pauses. Nope, I don't know what the hell's happening. I guess it's just like that. This song is called Underground. It is from the soundtrack of Assassin's Creed Syndicate by Austin Wintory. Right here is what it looks like. Oh, my face. Yeah, well, my face is there. But if I click away, it will pause. So it's frustrating. It's a good day for a nap, I'm telling you. It's a good day. We're actually looking at having a huge hailstorm come in to town in about half an hour, so I'm going to have to try to keep my window wells from flooding, because that's what happens in Colorado. Perfectly dry one day, hail the next. Look on my Twitter feed. I just posted a video of what it was like yesterday. It was insane. But thank you all for coming. I'm really glad that you're here. We had a great time today. Love you all. We'll see you in the next video. Again, subscribe if you haven't. We got Hellblade Senua Sacrifice critique coming. It's going to be awesome. I love that game. We'll see you next time. Love you. Bye-bye.
Them that loudly corrode their humility, lords and dames that sung in the chapels on a Sunday. All quiet now, their mouths are stopped up by mud. They lie flung in rags and make no sound. Underground, underground.